House number 46. The quiet night in a small mountain village was pierced only by the rustling leaves swaying in the wind, soft as a whisper from something unseen. At the farthest edge of the village stood an old two-story Thai-style house, long the subject of whispered tales. Children refused to walk past it after dark. The adults spoke of something that still lingered. 10 years ago, the entire family in house number 46 died mysteriously, whispered Aunt Min, the local food vendor, to May, a 25-year-old woman who had just moved in from Bangkok. May wasn't afraid of ghosts. She was a horror fiction writer who specialized in mystery and the supernatural. She believed in logic, in science, and more importantly, the rent for house number 46 was too good to pass up. She had moved in 3 days ago. Strangely, the house was in good condition despite having been abandoned for years. No dust, no cobwebs, no visible decay. It was, May thought, the perfect setting for her next novel. The first night passed without incident. On the second night, at nearly 3 a.m., she began hearing strange sounds like someone dragging their feet across the wooden floor upstairs. But she lived alone. She turned on all the lights and went to check. Nothing. No one. At the end of the upstairs hallway, however, sat an old photograph. It was a faded black and white picture of a man, a woman, and a small child. Their faces were oddly blurred, as if someone had smeared them on purpose. She was sure this photo hadn't been there before. When she asked around, no one would speak of the house. "Don't be curious, child. Even the shadows in that house can drive you mad," muttered the woman at the local grocery store as she clutched her prayer beads. On the third night, the whispers began. A woman's voice, "Help me," followed by the sound of a child crying. May documented it all. She thought it was the greatest inspiration she had ever found. She began writing feverishly, day and night, without stepping outside. By the 5th day, she started having the same recurring dream. She stood before the bathroom mirror upstairs. Then, her reflection slowly turned to face her, even though she hadn't moved. That mirror had been cracked when she moved in. She remembered calling a handyman to replace it, but he never showed up. He didn't even return her calls. That night, she checked again. The mirror looked perfectly fine, but she had no reflection. Panic slowly replaced curiosity. She began to believe something was haunting her. Digging through old documents in the storage room, she found a thin folder, records of the house's history. The previous owners, a father, a mother, and a daughter. All of them were found dead in 2012. Police ruled it a mass suicide. But one loose page stood out, written in strange, hurried handwriting. "I didn't want to die. I wasn't the one who did it." At the bottom was a name written in faded red ink, Methany Comcow. May froze. That was her full name. She had never met anyone with the same name. She had never heard of it in any record ever. And then she paused. How had she found this house? Who referred her? Why was the rent so cheap? She tried to call her relatives. No one picked up. No one replied to her messages. She turned to look in the mirror again. Her reflection was gone. Day 7. May couldn't leave the house. Every door was locked from the inside. Every window seemed to be nailed shut. Her phone had no signal. The electricity worked, but it felt like the lights belonged to a world of the dead. She began scrawling messages on the walls. "I'm still here. I'm not dead. I am May." The next day, all her writing had changed. New handwriting, childish and crooked, now covered the walls. "Will you play with me?" That final night, May looked into the mirror one last time, and someone else looked back at her. A pale face, tangled hair, empty white eyes, and a smile. 1 week later, a man named Tana moved into house number 46. He got the place through a coworker. Cheap rent, quiet location. "Hey, looks pretty normal to me. Not scary at all," he said, dropping his bag in the living room. On the table lay a closed notebook. He flipped it open. On the last page it read, "If you're reading this, I may not be here anymore. Don't trust the mirror. Don't listen to the child. Don't write stories in this house. And most importantly, Methany Comcow died 10 years ago." Tana slowly looked up. In the mirror, a woman was standing behind him, watching.